next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show here on WGNS. We come to you every Tuesday morning. My hosts, Wayne Blair and myself. We come to you from the studios here at WGNS in Murfreesboro. And Mr. Wayne, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Brother Rick. What a beautiful day.
It has turned out to be really pretty. I've made a pack this weekend after I went to the Titan Stadium and we went to the motocross and we walked from downtown out there and I about died. So I said, it's time to start walking more. So
yeah,
I'm on day 2 of it right now.
Yeah, I got out and worked on cleaning up the pontoon a little bit and I was feeling my age afterwards. So, but it was fun just getting ready to get on the water. But water's a little chilly right now, so it's still going to be a little while.
I think it's like 59 going up to 64 this week. And I think we got rain coming again this weekend.
We're about 10 degrees, I think, below average right now. So it's been a very cool spring.
I was in a conversation the other day, and they were talking about the Nashville airport, and they said they're about to change the due north is how they call runways, and due north has changed. So Nashville's going to have to rename one of their runways. They're going to have to change the number on it because the due north pin has gone from like 34 to 38. Oh. So I'm wondering if that's got something to do with our temperatures or what, but it makes it within 1 degree of Smyrna's landing strip now because they're kind of in line. Yeah. So Smyrna's a little worried about that because they're going to have the same call number runways.
Well, yeah, you sure don't want that mistake to be made.
No, you don't. But anyways, I just wondered that a little bit.
Yeah. Rick, we've got a special guest this morning, which is kind of neat with Dr. Sullivan, the director of schools, being on before us and having, well, I don't know if you want to knock on wood or not, but soon to be Dr. Jenny Smith, who is the principal of Smyrna West Alternative. And the neat thing is we're going to get to find out the inner workings of Smyrna West. There may be some thoughts out there, misconceptions of your program, and I think you're going to get to clear a lot of those misconceptions up this morning.
I'm looking forward to that. I think the public and the town of Smyrna deserve to know anything they need to know about our program and what we do for our students, and I'm looking forward to it.
Good. We Rick and I always try to get try to get our guests to talk about themselves in this first segment, and of course, you being a local gal, you ought to have a little bit to say.
Yes, sir. I started off in Rutherford County Schools. They raised me, so I went to middle school at Central Middle School back in the day. Went to high school at Riverdale. Graduated in '89, so say that little.
It's the best class ever.
Right, best class ever.
Okay, absolutely. Let's not even go there.
And just a long, rich history. I grew up in Barfield. When I was 16, we moved to Rockville, and that's where I've spent most of my life. I did a stint in Christiana for a little while when I was married to Kenny, and just really kind of been raised in that south end of the county. My mother was a lifelong educator in Rutherford County. She actually became my assistant principal at Riverdale my freshman year, which was definitely an adjustment.
You could probably do a whole program on that, couldn't you?
I really could, but it was a blessing. She kept me straight and my nose in the books. So my father was a lifelong resident, obviously, of Rutherford County. Connected. My grandfather actually ran for sheriff back in the day, a long time ago, Albert Parsley. My uncle, Johnny Parsley, was kind of a local icon. He had Down syndrome, but he was the biggest sports fan you've ever met, and MTSU fan, Riverdale fan, and before that, a Central High School fan back in the day.
Right.
Just deep roots in the community. When I graduated from MTSU, I went into Rutherford County Schools myself and ended up back at Riverdale at my alma mater and taught there for 18 years.
Wow.
And then went to Stewart's Creek High School and did my administrative work there. I was very blessed to become an assistant principal there and continue my journey in education. And this January, I was blessed once again as becoming the head principal of Smyrna West Alternative. So that's a little bit of my professional journey. And we can talk about a personal journey deeper than that if we want to get into it. But,
well, you know, anything you want to share with the public about your family, we always encourage that.
Oh, wow. Just growing up in the town of Murfreesboro was just an extraordinary blessing. I mean, people today don't realize some of the habits that we had that are lost now. For instance, on Saturdays, if I would stay with my grandmother was also a lifelong educator. She was a teacher, y'all. Are you ready for this? 47 years.
Goodness gracious.
Her first teaching job was at Barfield School. It was on the hill in Barfield, and it was a 2-room schoolhouse. And she used to have to come in the winter and build a fire and bring in water for the kids. And she taught kindergarten through seniors. That was her first teaching job. And then she retired at the end of her career at what was the Critchlow School up off of the square, a little bit further off the square, but that's where she ended her career after 47 years. And there's a whole generation of her students in this town that could tell you stories because she was an old school teacher with those cat-eye glasses, and she did not play around. But on Saturdays, when she retired, she got to be a grandmother and kind of take her granddaughter around wherever she wanted to. And on Saturdays, we would go to the square. We would call it going to town. And we had a routine. And my Uncle Johnny, that I'd mentioned before, would go with us. And we would drop him off at the square because it was the social activity of the square that drew everyone there. And you did all of the standard things you needed to. She went to the grocery store. I think it was called Delbridge's. I think there was a Delbridge grocery store she'd go to. She'd get her hair done at Cisco's. She'd get her hair set. For Sunday morning, she had to get it set.
For church, huh?
For church, absolutely. And then there was a soda shop there. She would take me on I don't remember the name of it, but it was right around from the drugstore, and she'd get me a chocolate malt, old school stools, with the little extra in the silver cup next to it. It was wonderful. And in the meantime, my uncle would go to the pool hall and say hi to all the fellas that would come down there and play pool. And then he would go hang out with Mr. A.G. at A.G. Sporting Goods and wait for us to come pick him up. And it was just, you knew everybody up there. You walked down the sidewalks and you said hi to everybody, and that's just where everybody was on a Saturday.
It was.
And so it was just an extraordinary thing to grow up there. And then fast forward to high school, we used to cruise. Our social hour was going around and doing that same kind of thing, but it had kind of moved off the square to Broad Street, and it was all safe and wonderful, and we got to say hi to everybody, and we socialized face to face and cultivated relationships that are still very strong today. I mean, you said class of '89 was the best class. I'm right there with you. I mean, now we've gotten older and we're scattered all throughout Rutherford County, and we can all share those memories because it changed over the course of the years. Students don't really do that anymore, and so the social networks kind of changed, but it was really wonderful. I mean, Murfreesboro and Smyrna and Laverne, all of Rutherford County, it was just a really neat time to grow up, so I was happy about that.
Rick mentioned earlier, so much the leadership in Smyrna, the town of Smyrna, are all Smyrna graduates, Rutherford County graduates, and it's just so many of our local leaders and MTSU graduates, and of course Rutherford County graduates have stayed.
Yes.
You know, because of the opportunities that are here, and that's neat to have homegrown leadership, homegrown entrepreneurship. It's just
It's
a neat
extremely
place to
important.
have grown up.
It keeps the culture rich. When you're connected in the past, but you're able to walk in the future, it keeps a rich culture in Rutherford County, and people that truly care about where we're going and the direction we're headed, and are a part of that and put their energy back into their own community. I think it's very important.
I agree. And I mean, like your role now as a principal of a school, I think we all, and I can remember in the 80s, we always had that teacher or teachers that we kind of looked up to still to this day. And you're got one of those roles now to kids to look up to, and hopefully they'll remember it, to the positive influences that you're able to pass on.
So, why did you apply for Smyrna West Alternative? I mean, it's not your traditional program that with the other 49 schools in the district.
Well, that's an interesting journey. I actually grew up. I mentioned earlier that my mother was a teacher and then assistant principal at Holloway High School a long time ago. Well, that was when I was in elementary school and middle school, and she used to do summer school there. And so back in those days, you could go to school with your mom on a summer school job. And anytime I was sick from school back then, you could go. She had an office, and I could stay in the office. Obviously, times have changed. We can't do that anymore. But
Sure.
I was just enamored by what she did. For you to be that age and see high school students like that, I just was in awe.
Sure.
And watching her journey in that kind of alternative environment for me was normal. And then fast forward to Riverdale, Mr. Hewlin Watson was the principal that hired me at Riverdale. He was also my principal when I was in high school. He started what was called the HOPE program, which was a small cohort of students that we tracked with the same teachers all 4 years they were in Riverdale, to see if we could combat some of that at-risk behaviors and give them a chance at success in graduation. And he asked me if I'd be the science portion of that teaching staff. And I got to go at least 3 years with those students and build a 3-year-long relationship with them. And they were deemed, before they came to us, as at risk because of either their background or their discipline record or their home situation or whatever that happened to be. And it was just an extraordinary experience, and that never left me. It happened early in my career when I was in my 20s, and it kind of forged my classroom management style and the way I built relationships with my students. And it just made a really big difference in my effectiveness, I believe, as an educator. And so that never left me. And then when I became an administrator at Stewart's Creek High, I would go over and visit my students that had been sent there periodically to check in with them and let them know we were still thinking about them and we were invested in their success, and that this is a program that they needed to work through because they needed some additional help in behavior, in the behavior arena. And that connection was really powerful to me. And so I was just always connected there. Of course, in Murfreesboro, it was a different venue, but then I got to really know what they did at Smyrna West and the program there. And it just called to me. I have been led throughout my career, I think, I don't know, from a higher power. Like, I feel like I'm called to do something, and I really was. I felt like I was called to be here, and I couldn't be more blessed. I'm extremely happy, and it's a great experience.
Well, having Dr. Sullivan as the director of schools may not make your job easier, but at least it gives you confidence in the leadership, because the central office is extremely strong these days. And I think Dr. Sullivan, from everything I've listened to him and learned about him, he's brilliant. And
he's extraordinary. Yes, sir.
He reminds me of Don Odom, who was director of schools when I was on the board, and just could read data like no one else. And I think Dr. Sullivan is out of that same mold.
Absolutely. And not only can he read data and be able to follow the trends and be able to prepare, but he's also passionate about what he's doing. He almost vibrates sometimes
Yes.
when he's talking about something that he's passionate about. And I mean, if you can't be passionate about education, then what are you in there for?
Sure.
I mean, because you have to be passionate and care deeply about the success of our students, and he does. And so when you couple those two strengths, and he's fun, we also need to have fun in this business. That's part of it. And so I'm just really grateful
Wait,
that
the
this
director
is the
of schools is fun.
Absolutely. Yes,
He
is
does have
fun.
he does have a
He
sense
has a
of
great
humor.
personality,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
treats
Yeah.
people with kindness and
Yeah.
compassion and accountability and expectations and all of those wonderful things that you'd want a good leader to do. And so, yeah, I'm very blessed.
I'm joking because he seems extremely down to earth. And,
Oh, he is. He's a real
personable
person.
and-
Yes.
When he got the position, I had an opportunity to talk to him at a meeting, and I said, I hope you inherited the patience of Job, because you're going to need
Absolutely.
it.
It's a large seat to fill for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But he's amazing.
Tell us
amazing
about
leader.
Smyrna West. What is a Smyrna West alternative school in a overview
nutshell.
type? What?
Smyrna West is an alternative school that provides a platform for students to come and work through a point system based program, and I'll give you a little bit more details about that in just a second, to help them get back on track academically and behaviorally. A lot of times in traditional high schools, some students get lost in the noise, and they make bad decisions. And I have everything. This is the part I want people to really hear. My student body is sent to me for various reasons, from an honors straight A student that made their first bad mistake in their life to students who have made habitual mistakes and just need some more guidance to get back on track. I also have students that live in group homes that are in DCS custody that definitely need a smaller venue, smaller class sizes, more one-on-one attention with teachers. And so they come to us, and I like to describe it as taking the noise out of high school, both figuratively and literally. We are a silent school. There's no communication. There's no electronics can come in the building. They wear a uniform. They are searched every day when they come in, so that we take all of the distractions out and we start from scratch. Because when you're looking at a traditional lunchroom, let's say a lunch in a regular large high school, you could have anywhere from 500 to 600 students in the same place at the same time. And that's a lot of noise. And a lot of times teenagers kind of get lost in that noise and make decisions that would come back to them. So when they come to us, they have to earn, it's a point system. They earn their way back to their place in their home school. We have 3 areas that we want them to concentrate on: to be productive, to be respectful, and to be responsible. And each class, they earn a set of points for the day that can give them up to 100 points a day. Anytime that they distract from that or revert back to some of that behavior, they lose points, and they have to get 3,500 points to be able to go back to their home school and learn, how to be able to correct those mistakes and get back on track. Our symbol is a compass, because we want to help them find their way back to where they need to be. And it's really neat to follow their journey, because when they first come there, of course, it's a new place. They don't understand really kind of what we're about, and they come in kind of guarded. And over the course of time, you can see them kind of let their guard down, and our teachers are purposeful and mindful about building those relationships with our students. They work really hard at it, and they talk about the patience of Job. Our teachers, our faculty, and our EAs, our entire staff is dedicated, and they came there for a purpose. Like, they wanted to be there, and they wanted to work with those kids because they feel like they have something to offer that particular population. And so we take all the differences away and we just make it about the relationships, improving your academics, and improving your behavior so that you can go back to your home schools. That's the goal, for you to go back and be successful there as well. And so our smaller venue, because we have on average, it's a little more sometimes, a little less, but on average about 100, 105 students over the course. And so you take a student out of a 2,500 person high school and put them in a 100-ish person high school, right, or like a large middle school, because we are 6 through 12, or a large middle school, and put them in 100 person or less. They are visible, they are seen, they are heard, and we can help them work through those things that they need to work through on a much smaller scale.
I would think having middle school and high school together might also be problematic.
That's a great question. We actually don't have them together. Sure. We keep them separated. Our middle school is inside the building for the most part, and our entire middle school is inside of the building. We have a building portion, and then we have a series of portables outside, and our high school is based in the portables. We have different bell schedules, and say that we have different lunch schedules. So our middle school is kept separate than our high school.
Right.
That's a great question.
So how many portables are about?
We have
Actually, they're
6.
trailers. They're not portables. They're trailers.
We have 6 at the moment.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that in the back. I guess I haven't been up that way in a little while. But
yes.
And I hate that. I mean, I hate our students being in trailers.
We all do. But I tell you what, I'm very impressed. We talked about Dr. Sullivan and this particular administration and board. They are very focused, hyper-focused on bridging that gap with the alternative schools, and I think they're really putting the time and the energy into trying to increase those seats, because most people don't know it, but our numbers, I think, I want to say in 1994 or 5, when Daniel McKee came on, we were around 19,000, almost 20,000 students. Well, we're at 50,000 now.
Right.
And the seats in those 2 schools, Daniel McKee and Smyrna West, haven't been able to increase. And so I really think in the next couple of years, we're going to see that gap lessen. I really think they're focused on trying to get us the right seats and improve facilities and things like that. I think all of that's coming down the pike. So
I agree 100%. You're listening to Jenny Smith, principal of the Smyrna West Alternative School in Smyrna, Class 89, Riverdale.
That's right. That's right.
We're going to take our first break, and we'll come right back here in just a minute.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Hey guys, this is Scott. You know, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone. You hear it everywhere, but do your homework and make sure when you go to a provider, go to one you can trust. Personally, I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness, and they check all your levels, not just your testosterone. And they determine the cause of any symptoms you're having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, which is your prostate levels. And they also check thyroid, liver, and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center also has affordable and convenient at-home treatment options. Prioritize your health in the new year. Schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today at lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
It's Good Neighbor Events, brought to you by Cardinal Realty Solutions, the law offices of John Day, and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Now WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Greenhouse Ministries continues to do a lot. Their lecture series continues every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. this month, the final month. And their Bible reading marathon continues around the clock, Wednesday through Sunday, 24/7 at Greenhouse Ministries. And Greenhouse's 20th annual Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is this Thursday morning. That's at the Experience Church on the Old Salem Road. The tickets were $25, but someone paid for all the tickets, and so it's free now. Make it a point to attend, but let them know that you're going to be there. Get in touch with Greenhouse Ministries. The Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, Thursday morning at 6:30 at Experience Community Church. And Murfreesboro Little Theater presents William Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. It's performed outdoors on the grounds at Oakland's Mansion, Thursday through Sunday, 7 o'clock each evening. And the tickets are pay what you can, with a suggested $10 amount. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Good Neighbor weather.
We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon, high in the mid-60s. Northwest winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour and gusting as high as 30. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 54.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's Drive EV program has resources for members who would like to learn more about all aspects of EVs. MTE is developing programs and educational materials to answer member questions. Learn more at driveev.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the second segment of the WGNS Roundtable with your hosts, Rick Hall and Wayne Blair. And our guest this morning is the principal of Smyrna West Alternative, soon to be Dr. Jenny Smith.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So run us through a child when they come in, he or she comes into that school. What's their day look like? So you were talking about before how your procedures are when they get into school, but and you've kind of changed things up and there's a lower class size. So what's a day look like for?
Well, the very first day we do what's called a parent intake. So the child and a parent come and we do an orientation. So we tell those parents and those students all about our program, all about our expectations, how they earn their points, how they lose their points, what the uniform consists of, the reasoning behind all of it, and so that they kind of know what to expect. And then we let them go home and take care of those things. They find their uniform, they get their folders ready. We talk about their folders are kind of their tether to everything that we do. In our point sheets, they have a point sheet given to them, and so the next day they come in, and we make sure that they have what they need to in their uniform, and then we do a student orientation just with students. We do that in the library. Our graduation coach and our librarian do a wonderful job of that. We started that new this semester. Because we felt like there might be a little bit of gap between parents listening and then students listening. I don't know why we think that, but sometimes if we think our parents are in charge of something, we zone out. So we decided we would do a student orientation, and that's worked out really well for us the last couple of months. And we kind of let them know, and that's our first step in building a relationship, because it's not, we try to bring them in to help them be successful and let them know that we are not there to dwell on whatever got them there. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so we want them to know that we are here for you and we are dedicated to your success, and we expect you to also be dedicated to your success, because at the end of the day, it's your choice. you have to make a choice to right the wrongs or to make the improvements, because it ultimately is going to benefit you. And so that's the message that we're trying to let them know. And then we go on to our regular schedule. So a regular day schedule after those two things occur is we come in the morning, we greet them at the door, and we separate them into 4 spaces. We have high school boys in one area, high school girls in another, middle school boys in one area, and middle school girls in another. And we do checks. We search them in the morning and make sure the only thing that they have with them is this folder, because that's all they need. They need this folder to be academically sound and to be on track for the day, because that's how they earn their points to get back to their home school. And then when everyone's there and everyone's checked, we dismiss those holding areas. And those teachers take those students to their homerooms. They gather up their class, and the homeroom is that first everyday stop in order to start building those relationships. So they talk about the points that they've earned, they go over the totals, they give them updates on kind of where they are in the program, and then we start a regular day. So they go to their classes. During transition, we have... we kind of take supervision to new heights. There's never a time where the students aren't with an adult, because that's the premise of what we do there. And so it allows them to follow a regimen without having to make those choices, because we want to get them into a routine so then they can make those better choices. And then at the end of the day, we go back to our homeroom to revisit that relationship. Well, how'd you do today? Did you get all your points? Oh, I see you lost some points on second period. What happened there? You fell asleep? What do you mean you fell asleep? Did you not go to, those kinds of things, those conversations? Because I think in education, I think teachers in general understand that the foundation of education in general is the personal relationships that you make with your kids. And if you cultivate that in a purposeful way, then students start to trust you and understand that you really are there for their success, and they will follow you. If you can't create a fellowship with your students, then you're missing the mark. And so we are very purposeful about the time that we dedicate to building those relationships, so they can begin the day like that and they end the day like that. And then we do dismissal from that homeroom space, and parents come and pick them up. Or they get on the bus and ride home. Another thing to think about as far as taking that noise out, students can't drive to our high school. They can't walk from our school, middle and high school. They can't walk. They are literally on the way there or on the way home with an adult to begin their day and to end their day. And so that's just kind of a typical day in the life of a Smyrna West student.
Do you see, because obviously you're having a kid for 6 weeks at the least, and could be longer depending on how they accumulated their points. So
True.
With that, it's almost that word responsibility. So you're teaching that young student how to be responsible in a lot of ways they haven't had to be responsible in the past. What's it like when they leave? So is it something that the school that they go back to kind of carries on with that program just a little bit to keep that responsibility aspect in their lives? Because you're going to reintroduce everything, the cars, the friends, the phones.
Absolutely.
All the outside influence that might have got them in that situation and make a wrong choice. So what's the follow-up to all that?
That's a great question. It varies per school. To give you a little bit of history to help answer that question, this program started off being about a 4-month program. But as our population grew, the need for seats grew. And so over the years, before I got in the alternative school realm, the time dedicated to the program had to be whittled. And so now, in order to manage access to our alternative school, because we are limited, we have seat numbers now. So each school has a certain number of seats that they can use in our program simply because of necessity. I'm very optimistic and hopeful that once we start increasing the number of seats at alternative schools, that we can maybe go back and lengthen our program, because it really does depend on the child's need on how that exit looks like. So let me go back to your question. Some students come in, and you can see their transition over the course of our program. They start off kind of guarded, and some toe stumpers, and they're losing some points and things like that. And then over the course of that, like a minimum of 6 weeks, you can see their transition, and you're looking at their point sheets, and they're getting all their points every day, and they're smiling, and because you can see physically how they change throughout the program. Absolutely, you can see a transformation. They come in not making eye contact, head down, shoulders hunched, and at the end of the time, they're helping sort folders in the morning and making morning announcements. Some of those transitions are extraordinary. Some students have more obstacles in their way than others. They have different backgrounds. They have, I mentioned earlier, I've had some students just since January that don't have parents at home of any sort. They're living in group homes and things like that. They need longer time in our program to go back and to be able to accept that noise again. So sometimes it's 6 weeks and sometimes it's 3 months. It just depends on their need. We have some students that ask if they can stay there. They don't, because they realize, and this is the point. They realize now what's good for them, and they know that as strict as our environment is, that they can be successful there, and they're scared sometimes to go back to the noise. That happens sometimes, but we want them to be able to be successful in that venue too. So we try to prepare them as best we can to go back and be successful in that home environment. Some high schools have transition programs. When they go back to their high school, sometimes they transition back. Some high schools don't. We give, the receiving schools, some middle schools, connect them with a particular person. So each school kind of does their own thing and gives them a way to transition back. We do see repeat students on occasion, and some we never see again.
I was going to ask you to go along with Rick's question, and I don't know if I can even say this word, but recidivism rate.
Yes, sir.
Do you keep up with that?
We do. I don't have that data with me, but that is something that we do track. And sometimes we have found that it's because they didn't learn exactly what they needed to. And sometimes some of those students try to get back to us, unfortunately. So we have to find that area where we can support them in being successful and build those relationships without trying to create an environment where they want to make it a permanent stay, because that's not our purpose. We want to be able to give them the foundation to be able to be successful in their home community school.
My years in law enforcement, we were doing community-oriented policing before we even had a name for it. Cops grants came out and everything else, but we literally went into the problem areas that we had, and I would literally stay out there and stand in the middle of them and play basketball with them and things like that to build those relationships. And you would get those that would seem like they excel and say, all right, we don't want you to stay where you're at. We want you to go on now and carry that on and rise up and be a better person. It's not about staying right in this moment, but it's to carry on as you mature. So, yeah.
And it's a confidence thing. You have to be confident in the fact that you can do that. And so, when you're a middle schooler or a high school, you're developing that confidence. You don't have it all yet. So.
That's exactly. Listen to Jenny Smith. She's a principal at Smyrna West Alternative School in Smyrna. And we're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back with you in just a minute.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
What are you doing Saturday? I'm going to the opening day of the Murfreesboro Saturday Market on the historic downtown square. What happens there? Oh, you have to come from 8 a.m. to noon. The square is lined with 68 vendors, including fresh produce, baked goods, local honey, and handcrafted items. Is there food? Yes, fresh coffee, country ham and biscuits. There's even balloon art for the kids. Flowers? Fresh cut flower bouquets and and plants. The Murfreesboro Saturday Market has everything. Follow them on Facebook, Murfreesboro Saturday Market.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Seniors helping seniors, in-home care services.
This is Danielle Rutherford. We provide bathing assistance, meal preparation.
I love that Seniors Helping Seniors helped me with grocery shopping.
shsmiddletn.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to the third segment and final segment of the Tuesday morning edition of the WGNS Roundtable with your host, Rick and Wayne. And we need to come up with some kind of moniker, buddy, you know. That
we had Rick and Bubba, but it's taken.
that won't work. This morning, it's been our pleasure, and she has been very informative, soon to be Dr. Jenny Smith, principal of Smyrna West Alternative. And I think you've enlightened us quite a bit about the alternative program this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. A lot of people have a misconception about our student body, and they're just kids. They're just teenagers. So.
Maybe talk about some partnerships. Of course, Rick and I are members of the Smyrna Rotary Club, and our club adopted you as their PTO organization, if you will, because your students are pretty transient. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they're transient in and out.
That's the goal.
And you didn't have anybody that would give you any extra funds other than what the school board or the central office divvies out to you. Mm-hmm. And that I think the Rotary Club, we've been a PTO sponsor or partner maybe for 15 years or so. Kay Davenport was the principal at the time, so we do the shadow program, and we've just had a great opportunity to build a relationship with your program.
Well, they've been extraordinary. The Rotary is just a wonderful group of people. I had the privilege of meeting them, and they've kind of welcomed me with open arms and been so kind. And you mentioned the job shadow program. That is something that we do with our students, where community members in Smyrna sponsor certain students, and we bus them to the Rotary, and then they go and they shadow these different businesses, from the airport to, we had some insurance owners that owned their own insurance business, and just everything in between. And I wish I could have filmed that and put this on the show to show. They came back and they just bragged on our students about how polite and kind and attentive, and our students came in with these huge smiles on their faces, and trying to tell me all the things that they have learned, and it was a really extraordinary experience to watch. And then they attended the meeting that afternoon, and they got to get up and actually talk on a microphone. And some of these students have never had that opportunity, and they were shining. It was wonderful. In fact, right before, there's a group of young ladies that was sitting next to me, and they were like, Miss Smith, you're not going to make me go up there. And I said, try it. You might like it. And all four of them went up there, and they were smiling, and they were very eloquent, and they spoke clearly. And it was just a really good experience all the way around. And we're grateful for the support of the Rotary. We couldn't do what we do for our students without that extra support. So.
Are there other community partnerships out there that I'm not aware of?
We are working on that. We are working on some community partnerships and being able to expand our purview. We had a meeting with an extraordinary young lady named Casey a few weeks ago, and she wants to become a sponsor. And a lot of times we have students that come to us in a situation where getting a uniform is difficult and things like that. And so we started some partnerships specifically for that, and we're in talks, and hopefully by the beginning of next year that's going to be solidified, and just getting the information out there for people to understand what we do. I think I'm hopeful. I think we're going to grow that support system.
We had the supervisor of the Atlas program on several weeks ago. So do you have, I know you said you had some students that may be in group homes or foster homes or another. Would you have any homeless students per se?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
We have quite a few students that fall under that Atlas umbrella, and that Atlas program helps us support them. It's funny you mentioned the Atlas program. Way back in the day when that got started, they started the weekend backpack program, and we had some local grocery stores that were donating money to Rutherford County schools, and some church groups that were organizing those bags and everything, but they didn't have a venue for the backpacks themselves. And I just want to take 2 seconds to brag on the student body at Riverdale. I just got on an announcement to say, you know what, we've got a need. Some of us are very fortunate we can get a new backpack every school year. If you've got the means, bring some backpacks on. We're gonna help some of the students in Rutherford County. And this is when Dana Nichols was in charge of that. She's now the principal of Rockville Elementary School. And those students at Riverdale brought a literal truckload of brand new backpacks.
That's pretty cool.
That we delivered to start that program off. It was literally the beginning of it. And so that's how that backpack program kind of got started. So
we found out that especially the faith-based programs, that they just pack these backpacks, just stuff them.
Absolutely, they do. I've actually been privileged to witness that and help that. I helped that my Fellowship Methodist Church on Salem Highway is one of those programs that helps do that. My mom and I helped them one day to do that, and I'm telling you, they've got a system down. They have a system down, and they help those schools in their areas, and there's a lot of churches around that do that. So it's a blessing.
I said it through the Atlas program, and we different people we have on, and of us growing up, and when we talk about our community, we all kind of, the backbone of our communities were the churches. And I think a lot of the problems we have now with kids and DCS and things like that, if we turn that stuff over to the churches, I think it gets fixed pretty quickly. We've just fought so hard to keep the churches out of the schools and out of the programs that, that's something I feel, and it's just my opinion, but we need it back, because that was the backbone of our country, and those were our leaders and who we looked up to and taught you those family values and to be responsible. That was part of the whole net that we all grew up with, that a lot of kids I feel miss out on today, because their influences fortunately are social media people that do dumb stuff to get clicks, and then they want to emulate dumb stuff, and it's just it's
that's
terrible.
The thing that I would love to ban from all education is the access to social media, because you're right, they're young and they're impressionable and they're exposed to anything and everything at the end of their hand nowadays, and they're not ready for that responsibility, unfortunately. And so
I mean, I get it. It's fun. I'm on social media, and some of what they do is it's fun, but it's being a comedian that's doing it for money. It's not their lifestyle, unfortunately, and there's a difference there.
Your faculty, what specialized background training do they have to be a part of your program?
Oh, that's a great question. Informally, they just are just a more patient group of people, I think. When you have a concentrated population of students that need extra help in the behavior area, it's very challenging. There's no formal specialized training in order to be a teacher at an alternative school. Just like any other school, they go through the regular teacher trainings, but you do have to have a desire.
Or calling.
A calling, yes, absolutely. You have to have a calling, a heart. You have to be able to be a de-escalator and not an escalator, because we have a lot of students. We have a larger population nowadays of students who have coping skill deficits. Mental health has also started to skyrocket, especially in our young people in the last few years. And so we have a larger population that needs an extra layer of patience to help them work through a problem until they can get back in control of it. So we do some things outside of the box because we are able to and have the environment that we can implement things like break cards and administrators that can walk students outside for a few minutes to let them gain back control of their emotions. And so we do some a few different things just because we have the opportunity to help them do that. So.
I want to ask you back, and we got off subject, but I want to kind of go back to it. So when you had that first meeting with the parent and the child, and then there's this second day of where you're one-on-one with that child, how is the parent involvement different from like a regular school that you may get a note every 6 weeks, but how much more do y'all touch base with that parent, and how's it change the relationship student-parent versus, son or daughter parent versus student-parent and you guys?
That's also a great question. First of all, it's a requirement. Like, you have to come and meet in that parent orientation, or we can't accept your student. So that's the first thing. They don't even come in through our doors without the parents being involved. And that point sheet that I mentioned, that has to be signed every night. And we write notes to them literally every day. So we have Monday through Friday where they have to sign their point sheets and be involved in that. And the homeroom teachers, the ones that I told you build those relationships, and that's their purpose for the homeroom, they write notes. It was a great day, or we probably need some more sleep, or and the regular teachers during those classes that they take can also write notes if need to, but that's a requirement. And if they don't get their point sheet signed, then they lose points the next morning for not getting it signed. So it's all about earning those steps. Like it's a point-based system that the students take pride in that, and they'll bug their student. No, you have to read my stuff so you sign it. And I mean, I've had some, but my mom was out of town, and I mean, well, did she email me to tell me that she's, so we have things in place for that too. Sure. But yeah. The
school board dollar, of course, is stretched every year, yes. And there's quite the deficit that the commission is looking at this year. Mm-hmm. But if we did not have the constraints that we presently have, and you could fill a wish list, what are some things that you wish you had for your program that maybe the county can't afford at this point?
How much time do we have on this show?
Not long.
Okay, so I have to make it concise. No, that's a great question. And you're right. We do have budgetary constraints it's just the reality of a growing community. If I could have a no holds bar wish list, I would love for them to be able to build on that property a brand new school. We do a lot with a little, as far as room and space and smaller classrooms. And it was built, I think, in the 1950s. And we have 6 portables out back that is essentially my high school. I would love to see a building built on that property where I could house the middle school in one hallway, a high school in another hallway, so they're behind brick and mortar. Honestly, because of safety issues. Like, I want them in a brick and mortar building so that we can provide the level of safety that we need to. I'd also like more than one bathroom for my students to go use, so that when we have, because we also have structured bathroom breaks, like they are brought there as a class, and we have to get real creative on our scheduling.
I bet.
So things like that. I would like to provide, a bigger facility, to be honest.
So if there's a business or a person out here wanting to get involved a little bit, I guess that it would have to, donations would need to go in through Rotary or Smyrna or somewhere like that where we could pass through the money. But if people, a church group might be listening to this and say, hey, we want to do something. Is that something you're open to, or how would they contact you, or what's your feelings on that?
Oh, that would be such a blessing. Absolutely, we're open to that. And they can go through the Rotary. They could go through Rutherford County Schools. they can contact me directly at Smyrna West. We provide probably something more tangible, uniform support for students who can't afford. And to be honest, I would love businesses around the Smyrna area to be able to stock the standard things that we require on our uniform, so it would be easier and more available to our parents to be able to get. The ones who can get it on their own sometimes have trouble finding things. And then the parents who need some extra help, I'd love to have a good stock to be able to do that. School lunches. Some students can't necessarily afford lunches, and then we try to do the lunch program, and sometimes they qualify and sometimes they don't. Extra support there. But other than that, just trying to provide, we provide everything. We provide the paper, the pencils. The only thing they have to bring to school and the only thing they're allowed to bring to school is this folder. So everything else, all school supplies and everything that they need, we provide in-house so that they don't have to carry those things on a bus. So anything in that venue would also help our teachers and our students. So.
Good deal. You said the stuff like their clothing they got to wear and things like that. That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. We wear a standard uniform. The purpose for the uniform is to take part of that noise out, like I said earlier, and to provide everyone a clean playing field. And for safety, we don't want, some of these decisions that brought them there are bringing things in school that they shouldn't. So we provide a uniform or require a uniform that it's easy to search and easier for the students to be searched and things like that. So
good deal. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hour flew by.
You have been a true blessing. God bless you.
Thank you. I'm blessed to be able to do what I do.
Well, we're blessed that you're willing and motivated to take care of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Everybody listening out there, I hope you enjoyed our show today. I think it bringing a highlight to some situations that need to be highlighted. But you listen to Jenny Smith. She's the principal at Smyrna West Alternative School in Smyrna. And there's Daniel McKee and Murfreesboro. There's two sets of that.
Dr.
We really didn't talk
Brown.
into that. But thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll be back with you next week. Have a good day.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor